Hey guys, and welcome back into the channel. Today we're going to be continuing our ranking videos. If you have not checked out my organizational ranking video from yesterday, feel free to check it out, where I ranked the top organizations from the years 2000 to 2019. This video here today is going to be along the same lines, but a tad bit different. With this video, we're going to focus more on the individual teams instead of organizations. And it's, 2000 to 2019 is such a long gap. In a long period of time, I decided I wanted to shorten that up just a little bit. So this video is going to go from 2010 to 2019. So the best individual teams in the four major sports from 2010 to 2019. No honorable mentions in this video. Just going to get right into the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is a team from the NFL. It was a recent team, so we all should remember it. It was the 2017-2018 NFC East champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles that season went 13-3. Like I said, won the NFC East. They were the number one seed going into the playoffs from the NFC. They ultimately go on to win the Super Bowl 41-33 over New England in an incredible high-scoring affair and a great Super Bowl, back and forth. This was a team, though, that was filled with tons of weapons on offense. At running back, you had a plethora of different guys. You had Jay Ajayi, you had LeGarrette Blount, you had Wendell Smallwood, you had Corey Clement, you had Darren Sproles for the beginning of the season until he got hurt. At the receiver position, you had Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar and Zach Ertz. And you had a ton of different options at the offensive spots. At quarterback, you had Carson Wentz. He was having a great season until I believe it was week 13 when he tore up his knee, was forced to be replaced by Nick Foles, who obviously helped guide them along a magical run, a run that was not expected once Foles took over. But this was a really damn good team, 13-3. Obviously, is not too shabby of a record, and they come in at number 10. They were also, I forgot to mention, they were third in points per game that season at 28.5 points, and they were fourth in defense, allowing just 18 points a game. So third in offense, fourth in defense, a really well-balanced team, good on both sides of the ball. They come in at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is a team where, when I looked at 9 and 8, I had a tough time kind of deciding who I wanted to put at 9 and who I wanted to put at 8. Ultimately, I decided to go with this team at 9. Some people may disagree and think they should be flip-flop, but we'll see. Coming in at number 9 is from the NBA, the 2012-2013 NBA champions, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat that season went 16-16, had a really good year. This was obviously year 3 of the big three in Miami of LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh. But in a lot of ways, this was the coming out party for the big three. This was the year that Chris Bosh stopped being, as Skip Bayless called him, Bosh Spice. This was the year where Chris Bosh really joined the mix and played more up to his potential. This was a year where he averaged 17 points a game. LeBron was at 27.5. D-Wade was at 21.5. And again, this was the first year where the big three really seemed to gel. Offensively, they were second in the offensive rating. They were 9th in defensive rating. So again, a well-rounded team, top 10 in both categories. They ultimately won the finals 4-3 over the San Antonio Spurs. This was a series that was unfucking believable. You had Ray Allen hitting the big three in Game 6 to win that game, and then ultimately beating San Antonio in Game 7. I still think to this day this was a series San Antonio should have won. Ultimately, though, they didn't. Miami goes 66-16. That's why they come in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is the 2013-2014 NBA champions, the previously mentioned San Antonio Spurs. This was an incredible team. This was a team, again, built around Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan. Then you threw in a young Kawhi Leonard, who was really coming into his own this season. San Antonio, obviously, in a lot of people's mind, it was their last ride. Tim Duncan's 37, Manu Ginobili's 36 at the time. And they took advantage of, what was their last run as a team. They ultimately went 62-20 that season, an incredible year. They obviously have the rematch with Miami in the finals, and they win the NBA Finals by a final of 4-1. Absolutely dominating Miami in this series, really ripped the heart out of them, stuck it to them. And when you look at it in Game 1, they won by 15. Game 3, they won by 19. Game 4, they won by 21. And Game 5, they won by 17. So they didn't just win this series, they dominated it. Again, winning by 15, 19, 21, and 17 in their 4 wins. So not even a close series. And the one game they did lose was by 2. So San Antonio dominated. Offensively, they were the 7th highest rated team. Defensively, they were 3rd. So again, top 10 in each aspect. A really well-rounded team. San Antonio comes in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is a team that I think for me was the most difficult team to rank. And I'll get to why, but this is the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors. If you can't remember, this is the team that went 73-9, had the greatest regular season in NBA history, passing the 95-96 Chicago Bulls. This was a team that hit threes like fucking crazy, spread the floor. They were a really fun team to watch. And 73-9 is ridiculous, and it's still obviously the greatest regular season in NBA history, which is why I felt like I had to put them on the list. But the reason they are as low as they are is because ultimately they're the only team on this list that did not win. They didn't win the championship. So it's hard to rank them much higher when they didn't achieve the ultimate goal. They got beat in the NBA Finals 4-3 to Cleveland. And not only that, but they in the conference finals, they went 7 games with Oklahoma City. And people forget they were trailing 3-1 in that series and ultimately won games 5, 6, and 7 to win the series and get to the finals. But it's like, hell, if Oklahoma City doesn't choke that series away, they don't even get to the NBA Finals. But I felt like I had to put them on here because of the fact that they are the greatest regular season team of all time. They were first in offensive rating and 5th in defensive rating. So, they were really well-rounded, which is obviously a common theme with every team on this list. But 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 from the NFL, the 2013-2014 NFL champions, the Super Bowl champions, if you will, the Seattle Seahawks. That year they went 13-3. Ultimately, they beat the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl by a score of 43-8, an absolute fucking blowout. Denver came into that game as the highest scoring team in the league at 38 points per game, and they were completely shut down by the Seattle defense. I remember that Super Bowl was a Super Bowl that everyone was anticipating. It was the clear top teams from each conference, and it didn't pan out that way. It was a complete blowout, a complete mismatch. This Seattle team was incredible on the defensive side of the ball. They led the NFL with 39 takeaways. They also led the NFL with 28 interceptions. They were led by the Legion of Boom, which was obviously Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, an elite and fierce defense. But not only that, they were 8th in points per game that season, so they could put points on the board. They were 1st in points allowed, obviously. They only allowed 14 points a game. And just a really dominant team and kind of underrated offensively. Yes, the defense was phenomenal. People remember them, the Legion of Boom. But people forget that offense was pretty damn explosive that season. Led by Russell Wilson and Golden Tate and Marshawn Lynch and whatnot. But they come in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is again an NFL team. The 2016-2017 Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots. They had an incredible season that year, going 14-2. Ultimately won the Super Bowl in my eyes, and of the games I've seen, the Super Bowls I've seen, was the greatest Super Bowl of all time. Ultimately defeating the Atlanta Falcons 34-28, coming back from down 28-3. Tom Brady, unbelievable in that whole second half, particularly the fourth quarter. That season, they were 3rd in points per game at 27.5. They were 1st in points allowed. They allowed 15.5. So 3rd in offense, 1st in defense, really well-rounded team. And another thing to note about that particular team, yes, they went 14-2, but in reality, at full strength, they lost 1 game. That was the season Brady was suspended the opening 4 games for Deflategate. Fucking bullshit, but we'll get into that maybe in a different video. And they lost one of their 2 losses were in those 4 weeks where Brady wasn't playing. So if you take those 4 games away, they lost 1 game the rest of the season, which was against the aforementioned Seattle Seahawks and Legion of Boom, who they lost only by 6-2. And, so it's like if you take away that loss when Brady was suspended, they lost 1 game that year by less than a touchdown. That in my opinion, that's the second best New England team ever after the 16-0 team that, got beat in the Super Bowl. But, they were completely dominant. Tom Brady was phenomenal that season, and that's why they come in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 from the MLB is, to no surprise, my favorite team of all time, and it was the 2016 Chicago Cubs. This was a team that went 103-58, an incredible season. Was a team, obviously a destiny, a team that had the weight of the world on their shoulders. Everyone was waiting for that moment when they'd fall off, that moment where they'd choke, as they had historically throughout the history of the franchise, and it didn't happen. This was a team that had not only great players, but they had a great manager. They were a real cohesive team, a really young team at the time. And this was a team that had, I always thought they had authentic backbone. They had true guts, and to win that World Series with the weight of the world on their shoulders, particularly the way the World Series went down and all the different moments where it could have crumbled right in front of their eyes. They didn't let it happen. And, this will probably go down as my favorite Cubs team of all time. No matter, if I live to be 90 years old, this will be my favorite Cubs team. I can almost guarantee that. The World Series was absolutely incredible that year, winning it in Game 7 in Cleveland, down 3-1. They come back and win the final 3 games. Game 7, they're winning. Chapman gives up the bullshit homer to Rajai Davis. Don't get me fucking started. But they win Game 7. Despite that, it goes to the rain delay, the 30-minute rain delay, the Jason Hayward speech, dramatic as hell. They win the game. Thank fucking God. That year, they were 3rd in runs in all of baseball. They were 1st in runs allowed. They were unbelievable, obviously. 3rd in offense, 1st in pitching. They had a plus 252 run differential. Absolutely incredible. And to explain how good that is, plus 252, the 2015 World Series champions, the Kansas City Royals, had a plus 83. The 2017 Houston Astros, who won the World Series, had a plus 196. The most recent World Series champions, Washington Nationals, had a plus 149. So if you're getting the point here, the team that won the World Series before them, after them, and then this past year had plus 83, plus 196, and plus 149. The Cubs were plus 252. So this was not a team that got lucky. This was a team that was dominant all fucking season. Cleveland was probably lucky that they happened to make a series of it. The Cubs were dominant and clearly the best team that season. Now coming in number 3 is again from the MLB, the 2018 World Series champions, the Boston Red Sox. This team went 108-54, which is tied for tied for 9th most wins ever in the history of the MLB during the regular season. Ultimately, they won the World Series in a lot less nerve-wracking fashion than the Cubs did. They won it 4-1 against the Dodgers, completely dominated them. They were 1st in runs that year, and they were 8th in runs allowed. So the Cubs were maybe a little better in terms of they were 1st and 3rd, while the Red Sox were 1st and 8th. But just the fact that the Red Sox had a better record, they were so fucking dominant all season, dominated in the playoffs, dominated in the World Series, spent 148 days in first place, which is incredible. And they had a really damn respectable run differential as well at plus 229. Not quite as good as the Cubs in terms of run differential, but damn near, as good. And they're obviously in the tougher division, typically one of the toughest divisions in baseball. So I got to go with the 108-54 Red Sox. They come in at 3rd. Coming in at number 2 is another team that I really love, a team where I watched most of the games from this season, and that is the only team on this list from the NHL, the 2012-2013 Chicago Blackhawks. 2012-2013 was the season where the NHL was cut short, the lockout season when they only played, I believe it was 48 games. The Blackhawks that year went 36-7-5, so absolutely incredible, 77 points. That year they were 2nd in goals for, they were 1st in goals allowed, so they were 2nd in offense, 1st in defense. Most people don't remember this, but they had a 24-game unbeaten streak to start the season, or a point streak, if you will. So 21-0-3. They were not beaten in regulation in the first 24 games, including 21 wins in those 24 games. Absolutely dominant all season. Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews had 2 of their better seasons. Ultimately win the Stanley Cup 4-2 over Boston. Dave Bolin gets the 2 goals in like 30 seconds or whatever the case may be. I don't even think it was that. An incredible season. Again, 24-game unbeaten streak. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's unheard of. I felt like they had to come in at number 2. And coming in at number 1 is a team I don't really like. I've begun to like them. Like, originally I did like them early on in their success, but as the years went on, I started to like them less and less. And at this point, I completely didn't like them anymore. But they have to come in at number 1, and that's the 2016-2017 from the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. This is a team that went 67-15, won the finals 4-1. They were 1st in offensive rating. They were 2nd in defensive rating, and they swept Portland in the first round. They swept Utah in the second round. They swept San Antonio in the conference finals. Ultimately won the NBA finals 4-1. So that throughout, the entire postseason, they lost 1 damn game. Like, that's ridiculous. Throughout the series I went through, just because I thought it'd be interesting, they outscored Portland by 72, Utah by 60, San Antonio by 64, and Cleveland by 25. So it was like, my God, through the 17, because throughout the postseason they played 17 games, won 16 of them. They outscored their opponents by an average of 15 points a game through that postseason, which is fucking ridiculous. Again, to go 16-1 throughout the postseason is incredible. 67-15, dominant team. KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, an incredible team, an incredible season. I felt like they had to come in at number 1. So all in all, that's my top 10, guys. Comment and like and subscribe. Let me know, do you agree with my ranking? Do you agree with these teams? You know, if you don't agree with the teams, tell me which teams you think should be on the list. If you do agree with the teams, do you agree with the order? But thanks for checking in, guys. There'll be another ranking video coming soon. Thanks, guys. I'm out.